Hello and welcome everyone to our continuation of this week's hashtag female boss interviews. This week we're also looking and talking about the importance of mental health and well-being, especially for entrepreneurs. And we're joined by the lovely Alison Chiwara. And Alison, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Tell us about your organization, Human Focused.
Well, thank you so much, Baila, for having me. And it's such a pleasure and actually an honor as well, because I'm sure there's so many women you could have picked for this. So just to introduce myself again, so I'm Alison Chiwara. I am the founder and lead corporate mental health consultant for my firm, which is Human Focus Limited. We are really passionate, or rather, shall I say, I am passionate about, creating and really happier and healthier workforces. It's been my life's mission since lockdown to ensure that businesses are really practicing well, and most of all putting people right at the center of their businesses. Without people, we have absolutely no business. And business is, you're either selling to people and people buy from people, and it doesn't matter whether it's a product, whether it's a service. And so my business is really focused on ensuring that organizational culture speaks louder than the product itself.
Oh, that's amazing, Alison. And did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Did you always want to have your own business?
Do you know entrepreneurship is a process? You're designing, you're launching, and creating something new. And that could be a product, could be a service. So it's always embedded in me. I came from a largely entrepreneurial background. My parents both ran businesses. So I kind of knew the freedom having your own business gives you. But also most importantly is that you get to be the action man or action woman. Where there's a problem, you create solutions. And so I've always found that journey really exciting, interesting. And I think that it gives you a certain urge, I think, amongst your other peers, because I think there's something exciting when you create something that other people can embrace and sort of jump onto. And that's why I think I've always had this flair for entrepreneurship, creating new things, perhaps out of nothing, or creating new things, simply because I can see gaps. And I think, why not me? I'll try it.
Exactly.
And so it's about taking risks. So,
and tell us about some of the challenges that you've encountered on this journey of entrepreneurship.
It's not for the faint-hearted, if I can start off by saying that. And it's not to scare people, because you have to have, an appetite for risk, healthy risks, shall I say. And I think that when you're starting something new, you really don't know what you are going to go into. And that's one of the biggest challenges, is you're walking into the unknown, because you're creating something new. You are dreaming on you for other people, and often what we are doing has an impact on other people, the way they will live their lives. Or perhaps you're creating a service that's going to make life easier for people. So there's a lot of ownership and onus that sits on an entrepreneur's shoulders to do well and to ensure that that product or that service really goes and delivers. So there's always that fear that you have burnouts. There's always that fear that you're never good enough. We talk about imposter syndrome. It happens all the time. And so the challenges are very real. Getting funding when you need it to scale, or to ensure that you continue to propel on, and getting the right people to leverage you along can also be a challenge. And really, I think that's why I absolutely adore, and I absolutely have huge respect for anybody that's an entrepreneur, because you have no idea the wars that happen behind the doors, the emotional turmoils. Some of them are financial issues, they're huge. And at the end of it, you have to come out and be this amazing person that is driving a really successful business. But the challenges are very real. And some of those often weigh on the individual shoulders. And it's a lot to ask. And I just implore everybody out there to really think about, when you want to, kind of talk about other people's business, I think, take it on board that it's a journey for them, and it has had many winds and turns, and you just don't know at what point of their journey. You are entering their journey. So be very mindful and really thoughtful around entrepreneurial journeys. They're not easy and they're not for the faint-hearted.
No, definitely not. And you touched on something about burnout. Have
Mm.
you experienced burnout as an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. If there's any entrepreneur out there that hasn't experienced it, well, I don't know what world they're operating in, because, like I say, the challenges in business are completely real. And one of those is that every day you're thriving to move your business forward to be the best that it can be. That comes with a lot of stress, and that comes with a lot of expectations from the people around you, because often we are doing things to serve community or serve a certain topography people. And so, with that always comes this. I mean, if anybody's like me, I'm very competitive, but competitive for myself. I never gauge myself with anybody else or anything else, but I always want to make sure that every day that I wake up, I'm the best version of myself. That same principle, I apply it to my own business. And that alone brings a lot of pressure. It may be in the subconscious, but there's those moments when everything becomes too much. And often on the entrepreneurial journey, you find that out when you have this major burnout that just appears from nowhere. And you're like, and that is why I absolutely implore everybody to prioritize their mental health. It's the most important thing in order for you to run your business efficiently with focus and clarity. You need to look after you. And I have found myself, even though this is what my business is all about, thinking, oh my gosh, I have overdone it. But then what has been important for me is recognizing that I need to stop.
Yeah, that's great. Can you tell us about some of the maybe practices that you've put into your life or routines that you've put in to make sure that you've got good mental health?
Like I said, prioritizing your mental health is absolutely key. One of the things that I do, and I said it when I had another interview the other day, and I wasn't sure whether I was preaching a good gospel or bad one, but one of the things that I totally like live my life on, my day starts slightly slow. Everybody that has done business with me will tell you that Alison doesn't like really early mornings. And I think it's understanding when you're at your peak for your arousal in terms of when you're focused. And it's really understanding you, being more self aware. So I found over time, well, actually, I work best when I've had a sort of easily induced morning. So I get up in the morning, I practice meditation, I pray because I want clarity. I want paving for my path ahead for that day. And that is something that I do. And that is done very slowly. I like to employ deep breathing mechanisms that I just do while I'm in my bed. So there's no reason for me to jump out of my bed. And I'm looking at my emails, so making sure that I'm sort of managing as well my tasks, my workload ahead. But I do it with such consciousness that if it means that I have to slow down or look at my emails later, because perhaps I've just opened an email that has really distressed me, then I want to really make sure that I set the pace and the tone for my day. So meditation, I do like my coffee, which is bad, but for me, it is that one thing. It's like an injection of life into my day. So I do like my little coffee in the morning. And I really, as I say, take time to find me on that day, because what's so real as well with maintaining mental health is that you can wake up and have a really bad day, good days, and it's understanding where you're at on that day. And so that is something that I absolutely do. And taking breaks throughout the day. I like to call them, you know, constructive breaks, constructive pauses, because they're really important. When I'm having a really hard time, I stop and take check. Having good quality sleep cannot be ignored. And making sure that if there's anything that does not serve your soul and imposes negativity, walk away from it is so important. And morning routines are really a thing that everybody must have, because that sets your tone for that day.
Oh, that's amazing, Alison. Is there anything that you have done differently on your entrepreneurial journey?
Do you know, definitely I think that I would have listened more. There were times when I thought I knew it all. And there are times when we own our vision and mission so tightly to our hearts that when somebody comes and tells you to go left instead of going right, you almost defend your path. And I think that there are times when I could have exactly listened much better and taken on advice earlier than later. So I think that's definitely one thing I would have changed, looking back at when I started off, because there are certain things that I'm learning now, and it's a continuous learning journey that I think, oh gosh, I should have known that a long time ago. But I also reflect and think I didn't take the advice, have a listening ear,
Yeah.
because that's really important in business, and know who you're getting that advice and inspiration from, because it's about intuition. And there are many times when I haven't allowed myself to be truly me when I'm dealing with things, because I've been led by other people's perceptions. So one thing I certainly would have changed is listening to advice and taking that advice very early on and applying it to my business, not just taking it, but applying it diligently and really quickly.
Oh, that's amazing, Alison. Tell us who's inspiring you. Tell us about entrepreneurs that are inspiring you, or a entrepreneur that's inspiring you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I could name a lot, but I think maybe the two are women that have stood out for me. So I love Oprah Winfrey, just because, she's had a very challenging upbringing. And I often hear in our communities, our larger communities, people say, oh, I really had a hard time, and that has really affected the person that I've become. Well, there's something that I always tell my children, and I always tell the many people that I mentor, is allow yourself to dream anew. Because when you dream anew, there's some magic that happens. And often that magic is one that you often have to reflect on, and it becomes the fuel that propels you even in your darkest moments, even when business isn't going how it should. Because when you have a dream, it's so precious. Only you have seen that vision. Only you can, can narrate it in your own words, in your own way. So Oprah Winfrey she's a reminder of dreaming on you. She's become a media mogul in her own right. And I won't talk too much about her upbringing, but I think most of us know of it. So many deep and dark moments. But I think for her to come across as this incredible woman in business who has even gone on to help other people. When we talk about impact leadership, she inspires me. Everything that I have done, all the businesses that I've had have been truly impact led and socially impact led. I want to leave a mark, a dent on people's lives in any way that I can. I've not always been successful in doing it, but I can honestly say that my heart has been in it. So perhaps my heart has been too big than the task at hand, and perhaps that has been my downfall. But Oprah is somebody that I constantly revisit her story, and I look at some of the philanthropist stuff that she's doing right now. She's even gone beyond her own borders that she's always known, all the way down to South Africa to start. I think it's called the Leadership Academy for Girls, I think.
Yeah.
And it just really inspires me. And I look and see, when you become this amazing person, your work is never done. The work continues, and you have to continue inspiring other women, other generations to come to do better. But then another amazing person that isn't spoken about hugely is a lady called Dame Stephanie Shirley. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She's an incredible tech entrepreneur. She launched, I think it was called I'm trying to think, I think it was called the Freelance Program or Programmers. And what she did, at that time in the 60s what was groundbreaking. She took on or only employed females. So, when we talk about gender parity in the tech sector, she is one woman that isn't spoken about at all. But she moved and changed and shifted paradigms at a time that was probably even not as viable as today, where we can come out and ask and talk about what we need as women and what we need as leaders. She led when there was no one to lead her. And for me, she has been one of those women that inspires me, where I say, when I look at things and I think, I have no one to follow. But if the path is there, I will take it. And if the gap is there, who else to close it but me? You have to be driven every day to do better in your community, in your sphere, within your friends, your own small networks, your larger networks. And this woman, Dame Stephanie Shirley, did that in the 1960s. She went on to run one of the most successful software companies in the UK. She was maybe one of the leading champions in software production in the UK well before tech was a thing. Still, tech is primarily dominated by men.
Yeah.
She was trying to change the narrative back in the day. We talk about flexible working. That is why she created this, so that women could actually find flexibility in their work. Women could actually work when it suited them. And that was the model of her business. And beyond that, when she became really successful, some tragedies took on, and she became a philanthropist and an advocate for neurodiversity in the workplace. And she became a massive advocate for autism awareness because of her own son. But I won't go too further with that, because you can see why I love her. Because when there's a gap to be closed, you must step up. And she reminds me of that.
Oh, Alison, I could listen to you speak all day. I would just love to thank you for coming to join us today. It's been inspirational to hear you, and also inspirational to hear about who's inspired you and your why that's been coming across throughout, and just so many tips and nuggets for us all to take on board as entrepreneurs. So thank you so much, Alison.
Oh, and thank you for having me. Thank you.